Hello everyone, welcome to Techies on Wheel. Today we'll look around the type of RPA solutions, which I prefer to be called as human-robot engagement spectrum. So basically, when we talk about type of RPA, in a broader criteria, we have three divisions onto it. One is attended automation, another we call as unattended automation, and third is hybrid automation. What is attended automation? Which means that somewhere human agent is managing the bot. It's like we have done an automation, and whenever required, human is triggering that bot. What is unattended automation? It's a kind of bot which runs on its own without human intervention. And then we have the hybrid automation, which means that human and robot is working on sync. So it's moreover also known as human in loop concept in the RPA industry. So let's take a view onto the detailed way now. So going ahead, additionally, apart from this broader criteria, we have subdivisions to these criteria as well. So when we talk about attended automations, in detailed way, we have two broad sub-criteria to it. One is attended interval, and then the other one is attended in tandem. Then we have hybrid, and then in unattended mode also we have two sub criteria, which is partially unattended, and then we have fully unattended. Let's look onto it in detailed way now. Like I told, what is attended automation? It's it's a bot which is managed by human. Like we discussed, there are two subdivisions onto it. First is attended interval, which means human involves robot at defined interval. So these are basically the processes which, whenever required, agent or anyone who is using that bot can trigger and use that bot as per their convenience. One of the major example for this mode is call center agent, where say a customer calls a call center and then the agent has to extract the details about that customer. He can just feed the customer ID there and just run the bot to fetch entire detail of the customer. Second one is attended in tandem, which means that as an user, I'm working on the system, but something, my bot is running in background. So my current work will not be impacted by the robot. How it happens? It is majorly where we don't require any UI automation. Nothing is there on screen. All the processes which can be done on in background. One of the major good example for this criteria is API based automation, or there can be other mode like database automation or somewhere like Excel automations where only the manipulation and everything needs to be done in background. So these can be the examples of attended in tandem. Talking about hybrid automation, like earlier told, it's something like human and bot working in correlation, which means that the bot is running, and then somewhere say there is an let's consider this example that bot is running. Once half of the process is done, it has some dependencies from the human to get input and post the decision of human or the input from human. Rest of the part of automation has to be done. So those are the processes where this human in loop or hybrid automation comes into picture. One of the good example is payment processing, where bot process the details into the system and then wait for the decision of human whether it has to further process the payment or not. Basis the approval and rejection of the human agent, it further processes the complete process. The third broader criteria is unattended automation, which means that a robot is working on its own without human intervention. Talking about the sub criteria, one is the partially unattended, which means that the robot will be, although unattended, but it has some criteria, some prerequisite onto it, which will eventually help trigger that bot, which means that say there is a file which has to be created on a specific location. Once that file arrives, it has to run the particular bot. Or say there is an email which if comes from a specific person, basis that a bot needs to be triggered. So this is a partially unattended automation. It's also called, it can also be called as a trigger based automation. Basis one example, very good example which I already conveyed, that there is some input which has to come from a specific team, and once that input file is placed into this location, further bot processing can start. The other criteria is fully unattended, which means that there is no dependencies on any of the external factor. Bot can just run on its own. So one good example is that, like if say there is a one portal from where you need to download the input file, and basis that input file, you need to process the file, process the data into another portal. So here, bot can go onto that portal and download the file, and then further process that particular file. So that can be an example of fully unattended automation. Other could be the example where, like, report download, where just the previous example which I gave in my earlier sessions, where agent just has to go onto the specific portal, download the report, and send it over to specific set of people. So these can be good use cases for fully unattended automation. Um, so summarizing all of these, it is important to understand where the process fits well, which criteria does it belong to. And on higher level, just to summarize, there are a few points which will help you understand hybrid automation better, which means that if I say hybrid automation, it somewhere defines that it helps in a seamless integration between bot and human workforce, so that they can both work in sync and correlation. Also, hybrid automation tends to collate with AI processes nowadays, where this decision instead of a human and artificial intelligent system would be taking instead, and in correlation the bot can work. Also, there is a very good concept of RE which has been uh, brought up by Automation Anywhere. We'll be further discussing in our next session. So like I told, we'll be in the next session, we will be looking around more onto the details of hybrid automation, as this is much more widespread into the industry and very tricky subject as well. And there are very good concepts around the industry revolving around. And we'll also talk about the concept of RE, which is really good and interesting. So stay tuned, be healthy, be safe, keep learning and keep growing. Thank you, everyone.